Hello friends, today I'm going to be reading you this book called Wild Adaptations. This is a book written by Maggie Bridger. Let's begin. How is a polar bear like a worm? How is a toad similar to a chipmunk? What do butterflies have in common with whales? They are all alive. They are all animals, and they all adapt to their environments. Now, what are adaptations? All living things have adaptations. An adaptation is a part of the body or a system that helps the living thing to stay alive. An adaptation can also be a behavior that helps it to survive. The color of an insect's skin, the size of a plant's leaves, or the way an animal moves can all be adaptations. Now, what does it take for an animal to stay alive? Well, an animal must find food, water, and air. It must be able to protect itself from all kinds of weather. It must keep from being harmed by other animals, and it must be able to do this wherever it lives. Now, here you can see there's an adaptation for this monarch butterfly in its wings and wing pattern. Also, the northern Pacific humpback whale also has adaptations to help it survive in its environment. Polar bear. Think of a polar bear. It lives in the Arctic cold and snowy place. How are polar bears adapted to live in this habitat? They have wide paws. These are good for swimming and good for walking on snow. They have special fur to keep them warm and help them in the water. They have a good sense of smell and sharp teeth. These help them to find food and to eat it. Polar bears are well adapted to the Arctic. Now, animals have different adaptations, even in the same habitat. Fish and water spiders both live underwater. They both need to breathe oxygen, but they have different adaptations to breathe. A fish has gills. When it swims, it takes water in through its mouth. The water flows over the gills, and oxygen is in the water, passing through the gills, enters into the blood of the fish. Now, this is a parrotfish, and you can see right here, these lines right here, that is its gills. Now, it says a water spider doesn't have gills. They still need air, though, and they have a different adaptation. They gather an air bubble at the surface of the water. Then they dive under the water and they carry the bubble with them. You can see here the bubble that it's carrying. Now, the water spiders are born and eat and mate underwater, so everything they do underwater. They stay underwater most of their lives. To do this, they build their air bells out of silk. They then fill these bells with the air and carry them down from the surface of the water. These bells are adaptations to help water spiders survive. Now, it says camouflage. Have you ever heard of the word camouflage before? Let's see what it means. Look carefully at this picture here. Can you see an animal in it? Did you see the measuring worm? I'm looking. I don't think I see it. The measuring worm is in plain sight, but it's still hard to see. Its camouflage helps keep it safe from predators. Any hungry bird or animal that might want to eat it. Camouflage is the coloring, marking, or other physical appearance of an animal. Camouflage helps living things blend in to their surroundings. Animals use camouflage to hide from other animals. Now here on this side, it says we've got some Pacific octopus hiding in coral. Now, camouflage protects the prey. It will help predators too. Remember that polar bears, they're a predator and they live in the snowy Arctic. Their fur helps them to blend in with the white snow. The prey or animals that the polar bear eats can't see the polar bear very well. Some animals, such as the octopus and the anole lizard, can even change color to match the background. Adaptations for hot and cold climate. Now here it says, animals can't get too hot or too cold. Many adaptations help animals that live in extreme temperatures. It's hard to live through a long, cold winter. Some animals hibernate. Even chipmunks curl up in their dens. There they stop eating. They breathe very slowly. They use little energy. They come out of hibernation in the spring. when there is a lot of food again. So you can see here the chipmunk, and he's all bundled up. He slows down his breathing, and he waits until winter is over and there's more food in spring. Now over here it says animals need protection from the cold. They also need to keep from getting too hot or too dry. Desert spadefoot toads live in the Australian desert. They lay their eggs in water though, and they need that water to breathe. How can they survive if they're in a desert? Well, for the driest part of the year, which is most of the year, they bury themselves deep underground, and they stay there until it rains. Even when they come out, they are most active at night when the air is cool. So you can see this little toad has buried himself into the sand to keep himself cool. Now, this says migration. Migration. Now, hiding underground isn't the only way to escape from too much heat or too much cold. Some animals leave the area altogether. They do something called migrate. Most insects are adapted to survive in the winter cold, but not the monarch butterfly. Monarchs are from all over the eastern North America and fly south for the winter to a mountain valley in Mexico. Then in the spring, they return to the north again. You can see here, there's hundreds and hundreds of the monarch butterflies. Now here it says animals don't migrate just because of the temperature though. They migrate for food too. The northern Pacific humpback whale eat krill, tiny shrimp-like creatures. And in the summer months, water off the Alaskan coast is rich with krill, so there's lots and lots. Humpback whales spend the summer there. Then they migrate 6,000 miles to warmer waters in Hawaii for the winter. There is where they give birth to their calves or their baby whales. So you can see here are some whales getting ready to eat that krill. Now, this one is talking about how environments change. Now it says here, hibernation, camouflage, and migration are all adaptations. These help animals survive in their environments. But what happens when the environment changes instead of the animal? The dodo was a bird that lived on an island in the Indian Ocean. It was well adapted to the island life. It didn't have any enemies on the island. It didn't need adaptations to protect itself. Hungry sailors landed on the island, Mortis, and they found that they could kill the dodo easily and use it for food. Rats and pigs brought to the island did a lot of damage by eating dodo eggs and destroying their nests. It takes many generations for adaptations to develop. The dodos were killed in less than 100 years. There are no more dodo birds anywhere in the world. They are extinct. So this is the island of Mauritius. It's off the coast of Africa. And down here it says there are many ports. Many ports were set up on the island to transport spices, unload prisoners, and ship sailors. The animals that came by boat and the people themselves led to the extinction of the dodo bird. Again, extinction means there are no longer any more of those dodo birds. Let's read our last page. The world is always changing. When environments change, some kinds of animals do well, others do not. Some cannot survive at all When we are studying adaptations, we learn a lot about living things. We learn that animals need to survive in various environments. We learn how animals live with other things in their environments. Now down here you can see this is a beautiful coral reef, and there are many different animals that have adapted to survive in this environment. And now we are done with our book, so let's think about a couple of these questions. Number one is, what is an adaptation? So think back. In the first few pages we were learning, what does it mean if there's something that is an adaptation? Think about that. Second question, why are adaptations important? Why is it important for animals to have adaptations at all? Why can't they just stay the same? Question 3, what are some reasons animals migrate? So first think about, what does it mean to migrate? Well, I'm thinking it means to move. So why would an animal need to move? Think about that. And question number 4, what might happen to the northern Pacific humpback whale if there's less and less krill every year? So what would happen if they don't get enough food? Think about that. Talk about it with a sibling or a parent. Last but not least, it says down here, there's an activity. If you want to do this extra activity, go ahead. It says choose an animal. Find out where it lives, what it eats, learn how it finds shelter and protects itself. Make a display showing how it's adapted to its habitat. So if you want to do this and then come show it to me during my office hours, that would be wonderful. Thank you for coming today during my story time with you, and I would love to have you come back for another one. Bye, guys.